seem to be beneficial. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shaykh, I have a daughter who is 26 years old. Every time a young man proposes to her for marriage, she refuses and says to me, I have my salary, I have my car, I don't need a man to control me and tell me don't do this or don't do that. I'm trying to convince her that marriage is the message brought by our religion. But she argues by saying, look at all the married women, either they are miserable or they get divorced after a while. So please give her some advice. She is listening to you now, and also some advice to the young men, even if it is just a word on how to treat women, and that women are entrusted to them. Unfortunately, nowadays young men have a wrong understanding of how to deal with these innocent girls who left the comfort of their family's home and chose to live with them.
I'll let Sheikh Lutfi handle it, but I think I did touch on a few of these things. And something that I said very early on, and that is, here we are now labeling men in a certain way, labeling women in a certain way. All right? My daughter, who has asked this question, Wallahi, thumma wallahi, it is not like you think. It is not like you think. There are, bifadlillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, many righteous men out there, many righteous men, young men out there. And mashayikh like Sheikh Lutfi are always advising the menfolk, ittaqullaha fi nisaikum. Fear Allah Azza wa Jal concerning your womenfolk. You don't have to just marry anybody who proposes to you. Remember that we have certain protocols that we follow. You have a father for a reason. You have a wali for a reason. You have a brother for a reason. You have uncles for a reason. Ask about that young man who has proposed to you. Don't just assume that because they've highlighted all of those horror stories out there, you haven't seen all of or you haven't heard about all the wonderful marriages out there. Why are we only looking at the failed marriages? And why are we only looking at those homes in which there is tyranny and in which, there's injustice? No, there are more homes in which there's a great deal of good, but nobody talks about them. Nobody mentions them. So my daughter, remember that not all men are like that. And remember that you are not obligated to accept the first proposal that comes your way. Investigate, find out about that person. When you speak to that person, you have the right to speak to that man who has proposed to you. If you feel that this might be the right person, ask very pointed questions. From now, don't be afraid to even write them down and have a notepad in front of you. I sound so old, I just realized that. Like, put them on your notes or whatever on your phone. I'm old. My daughter, she has sticky notes. When the man came to propose, she has sticky notes all over the place, and she was asking questions off of those. Okay? So ask the right questions. Okay? And what did I say earlier? Why have we forgotten the dua? Why have we forgotten to turn to Allah Azza wa Jal to bring to us the best of spouses? And the hearts are between the two fingers of Ar-Rahman. يُقَلِّبُهَا كَيْفَ يَشَاءُ. Allah Azza wa Jal is the controller of the hearts. Ad-du'a, ad-du'a. I'm telling you from first-hand experience that it was all about dua, and it continues to be about ad-du'a. Anyway, the Shaykh is our advisor.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When we do our Marriage Made Easy seminar, actually a huge portion of the seminar at the beginning, which takes a good maybe 1/4 of the seminar, is about this point here. Those people who are not interested, those people who want to cancel, distance themselves from marriage. And you can, historically speaking, back in the days, the main category of people who said, I do not want to get married, are those people who had a misunderstanding of their religion. So obviously we think right away about the people of the book, right, Ahlul Kitab, and how they said, we do not want to get married because we want to stay clean, pure. And Allah Azza wa Jal tells us about those people and how wrong they are ورهبانية ابتدعوها ما كتبناها عليهم إلا ابتغاء رضوان الله فما رعوها حق رعايتها. Nowadays we see obviously what's going on with the institution of the church and everything. Those people who said we don't want to get married, you know what the consequences are. And in the time of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, some Sahaba, some companions, they said maybe we should stay single for the remaining of our lives. Because why? When we stay single, look, think about this. Almost, I say almost, there are exceptions, but almost every choice we make in life, even those decisions that are beloved to Allah Ta'ala, or those decisions that are haram, that Allah Azza wa Jalla is not pleased with, they usually have some harm or some benefit. So, if you think about things that are haram, think about khamr, alcohol, or maisir, gambling. What did Allah Azza wa Jalla say about those two things? Because someone can say, you know, there's a study that has proven that they say that if you drink alcohol, but just a certain amount, it's going to have this good effect on you, whatever. Whether the study is right or wrong. Allah said in the Quran, قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. Allah said that there's actually some good, some benefit in gambling and in khamr. But there's a lot of harm, much more harm, and the harm is much bigger than the benefit. Allah Ta'ala did not deny that there's some benefit. That benefit is there because there's a purpose. Allah has a hikmah, it's a test for people, it's ibtila for people. At the same time, there's a lot of a'mal, part of Islam, things that Allah Azza wa Jalla is pleased with, or things that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is telling us to do, that can come with some harm, right or wrong. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْقِتَالُ وَهُوَ كُرْهٌ لَكُمْ وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. We spoke just before about your duty that you have, for example, to protect your family and everything. So knowing that you have to protect your family, does that come with some harm in it? Yeah, you're like, but now I'm exposing my life, maybe I'm going to be injured for the rest of my life, whatever. But it's like a benefit and harm. Marriage is the same thing. It doesn't mean that marriage does not come with some inconveniences. This is something to remember. The only marriage that comes with zero inconvenience is, which one? The only marriage that comes with zero inconvenience. Which one? Jannah. Jazakallah. Not in the dunya. Dunya, all the pleasures of dunya. All the pleasures of dunya, the ulama, they say, they come with a little bit of tabghis, meaning like some bad things here and there that come to like poison your experience here and there. But it's something minor. We accept this for everything that we do. Even when you go out to the restaurant, you're like, I'm going out, and you pay a lot of money and everything. Like, this was a little bit, too salty. I ate this food and I'm having a little bit of stomach pain. I'm feeling too tired right now, or too sleepy. I should not have done that. But we accept this. It's just part of life. On the other hand, staying single, even for the sake of Allah. Someone can say, I will stay single for the rest of my life because I want to worship Allah. So this is the best, theoretically, this is the best example one could think about for a reason to cancel marriage. Right or wrong? Is it true that if you stay single, this is going to be somehow of a help in you worshiping Allah? Is it true or not? Yes. Well, it's going to be much easier to come for Salatul Jama'ah and stay in the masjid and recite Quran and do dhikr and do qiyamul layl. Of course, if you have what? The willpower. And obviously, by the way, even for ilm and knowledge and saying the haqq and speaking the truth, as they say, to authority or whatever, because it came in the hadith that al-waladu majbanatul mabkhala, because you have no family to think about, you don't care whatever happens to me, you know what? Who cares? I'm just going to speak my mind, whatever is in my heart. So that's why the Sahaba, some of them, they wanted to ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to do tabattul. Tabattul is like, we're cut off, we're not going to come close to women. We're staying single just to make ibadah of Allah. And the first Sahabi who dared, they said, you go first, you're going to ask Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are too shy, too scared, too embarrassed to ask. Is Uthman ibn Mad'un. He asked for permission. نهاه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى عن التبتل نهيا شديدا. رد عليه التبتل. He said, no, you cannot do this, you have to get married. And then he said, عليه الصلاة والسلام, الزواج سنتي فمن رغب عن سنتي فليس مني. أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. Marriage is my sunnah. Whoever يرغب, what is يرغب? What is يرغب عن? Who can tell us? Who's a little bit good in Arabic? يرغب عن. عفوا? يبتعد. نعم. Or as you say, so you have يرغب في. When you say يرغب في, is you have a very strong interest in something. يرغب في هذا المال. He really wants to get that money, that wealth. يرغب عن. I'm not interested. So Rasulullah did not say whoever does not get married. He said من رغب عن سنتي. Just like in this question, someone says, maybe because that's a big problem nowadays. By Allah, youth, brothers, as well as what? Sisters. So now we had an example of a sister who's 26 years old, and the question says what? That this sister says, I don't want to get married because I have a good salary, I have a good income, I'm good, I'm healthy, I'm free. I don't want to be with a man who's going to control me. Now, if you talk to the brothers, the young brothers, a lot of them, they talk this in a second. I'm not interested in what? Getting married. There's a lot of problems and it's very hard, and these girls nowadays are gonna make your life so miserable and everything. I'm good, akhi. I'm free. I can travel. I can be a vlogger on TikTok, and it doesn't cost me a lot of money and whatever. So this is why Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu. So all of these are effects of the liberal mindset again around us. That's what's the key word here? Is what? I am free. Freedom. Liberalism. I'm free. I want to be free. No, I don't want to have any responsibilities toward anyone. Umar radiallahu anhu, when he was a Khalifa, he saw a man of a certain age. He said, are you married? He said, no. He said, ما منعك من الزواج إلا عجز أو فجور. That's it. 2 options. He said, the only reason why you are not married is either ajz. What is ajz? Incapacity. Meaning, maybe he doesn't have the money to get married, he cannot afford. فمن استطاع منكم الباءة فليتزوج. Maybe he cannot afford it. Or maybe he's looking around, nobody accepted him, he doesn't have status, whatever. مدفوع بالأبواب, every time he begs, can you give me your daughter? Say, go away. So, عاجز, خلاص. Or what? Fujur. What is fujur? Corruption. He wants to live in haram. He wants haram. He doesn't want to live in halal. He wants to be what? A free agent. So, in reality, this is what it is. This is what it is. When someone says, oh, okay, it's especially for someone young. Look, whether brothers or sisters. If someone young nowadays refrains from marriage for no valid reason, can be valid reasons, obviously, those are exceptions. But if someone says, I'm not getting married, I'm not interested to getting married. Not because, look, like the Sheikh said, maybe I'm not in a hurry to get married, meaning I'm not going to take just anyone who's going to knock at my door. I want to make, a wise decision. I don't want to be with the wrong person. That's completely fine. It makes sense, especially nowadays. But if someone says, marriage, forget about this. I'm not getting married. This is what a recipe for disaster, as they say. The path of haram, the huge doors of haram are coming sooner or later. For someone young, I'm not talking about someone in their 70s, whatever. Even, by the way, someone in their 70s in Islam, if they lost their wife or their husband, in case of, died, passed away, they should actually get married. This is strange nowadays. People, they say like, sorry, we're just talking about these side issues because these are very common problems. One of the ulama, very respectable alim, he said, this lahira that's very widespread nowadays, that sometimes an elder brother passes away and he leaves his wife behind. Maybe she's like 65, 70, 75, and she wants to get married again. And then her kids, her sons, whatever, they say, no, you're too old for this. He says, هذا من عقوق الأمهات. This is min uquq. This is a major sin. It's none of your business. She wants to get married. Some of the Salaf, one of the Salaf, the story is famous. One of the Salaf, forgot who he was exactly, but his wife passed away. He went, buried her, made Salat al-Janazah. On the same night he went and he got married again. So some people, they say, what? Astaghfirullah? He's not loyal to his wife, just passed away. No. They asked him, why were you in a hurry to get married? He said, I was scared to die and meet Allah as someone who is single. خشيت أن أموت فألقى الله أعزب, meaning not according to the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it sounds, again, sounds very cool when you're young and you're 26, whatever. I'm not getting married, I got my salary. Again, look at this world in which we live. Why? Because the whole concept of protection, for example, that comes with al-qiwam al-rijal qawwamuna ala nisa, you don't need it today. Why you don't need it? Because even your husband, theoretically, is not even supposed to protect you. Call 911, cannot sell, especially in this country, maybe not in America, for example. But in this country, what? If someone comes and hurts you, wants to attack you, assault you, don't defend yourself. Call what? Call 911. So there's this whole thing that, it's the government protecting me actually. It's not even my husband, okay? Yeah, but you're 26, my friend, and you're going to live maybe, I don't know, for another 34 years, and you're going to go through cycles, and ayyamu duwal. The world is not going to be always what it is today. It's impossible. It's impossible. This has never happened, that the world always remains in one stage. Again, الذي لا يعتبر, people who don't take the ibrah from what happens elsewhere. They don't look at Gaza here, Ukraine there. Today the world is one way, tomorrow it's going to be what? Another way. And will come a day where you will say, I am maybe 35, I am 40, how come I'm not married? I have to get married, I cannot live like this, it's impossible because I'm such an odd case, I'm a weird person. But then you're almost begging people for marriage and nobody wants you. People say, you're too old, I can find someone who's what? Who's younger, I want to have children. And last but not least, obviously, what's one of the maqasid of marriage in Islam? One of the main maqasid, goals of marriage in Islam, is to build a family, to have children. If you are 26, you don't want to get married, when are you going to get married? When? Maybe you will change your mind when you will be 40, when you will be like, there's a very common thing, very common cancer, disaster that we have, for example, in the Middle Eastern cultures nowadays, not in the deen. We have in what? In the cultures. Delay what? Two things. What should you delay? Marriage and Hajj. Delay marriage and Hajj. Recipe for disaster again. You get married, some people get married in their 40s. They say, now it's time to get married. Imagine the age gap between you and your children. There's going to be generations, between you and... It's like they're from the time of Aad and you're from the time of Aad. Okay, like huge gap. And Hajj, the same thing. Hajj is the same problem. Sorry if we're going, a little bit, we're touching on other, because all of this is actually related to the lifestyle of the Muslim, making the right choices. When you go for Hajj, you see one of the main problems in Hajj. Why do you think there's a lot of accidents in Hajj? Why? There's an over representation of elders. Now some people they say, Astaghfirullah, you're so mean. You're talking bad about those elders. No, I'm not talking bad about anyone. What I'm saying here is that if we were to implement the value that Rasulullah said, what? تَعَجَّلُوا إِلَى الْحَجِّ فَإِنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ لَا يَدْرِي مَا يَعْلَمُ لَهُ. You should do Hajj as soon as possible. If you do Hajj when you are young, you are exposing what? Less risk to yourself and to others. But if I wait until I become 75 and I go for Hajj, I have to take another person with me, right or wrong? Cannot do Hajj. So that's two people instead of one. Number two, somebody is pushing me on a wheelchair. I realized this because I was making tawaf one day. I'm like, why is tawaf so chaotic? And then I'm looking at the details, and a big portion of it is actually the wheelchairs. Hitting your foot from here and there. You have to stop. You cannot do your tawaf quickly, because the tawaf, and there's also the sa'i, the same problem. Although the sa'i nowadays they made a column just for it. But imagine if as an ummah we were encouraging ourselves to do Hajj as young as possible. You go young and healthy. Obviously there's people who cannot do, or Hajj maybe becomes an obligation on them when they grow older. That's a different story. We're talking here about the main thing, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair.